Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's edition of the Rasslin Report. And here's your host, Rated R for Wrestling and Jonesy Chats Wrestling.
Welcome back to the Rasslin Report. As per usual, we are back each and every week for the Rasslin Report, but my co-host is just a little bit different looking today. Jonesy was not able to make it, our schedule conflict, so I got Zach from West Coast Popcast, one of my favorite channels, one of my favorite dudes out there in the wrestling YouTube community. Hello, we're back.
Hey,
There you
there
go.
we are.
So, Zach, before we got interrupted by that, what is going on, Zach? How you doing?
I'm good. I am your interim Jonesy. I'm glad to be here. I love your channel, and I'm ready to go.
There we go. So we had an interesting week in professional wrestling. Interesting to say the least. A lot of interesting things went down in Dynamite, WWE. What's your biggest takeaway from this past week? I know you saw a lot of wrestling this week.
Yes. My biggest takeaway from wrestling is the fact that tables are turning. We are almost opposite of where we were a year ago from a standpoint of watchability.
That's a good point. Yes, it's a lot more watchable now, especially on the WWE side. You know, AEW still has a couple of things that they need to work out. So does WWE, but WWE seems more drastically better just because of how previously bad it was, right? So it's kind of like one of those things is like, you know, you were so bad that anything you did good, it just makes you seem 27 times better. So that's what we're getting right now in terms of WWE programming. So the first topic that we're going to get into is, I think, the biggest one of all this past week, and it's CM Punk squashed, right? He gets completely squashed. They do the injury angle. He comes back from this injury that he sustained after he won the world title. Doesn't really vacate it, but there's an interim champion, obviously Jon Moxley. So they do the unification match on a Dynamite, which is interesting. Let me get your thoughts on what you think about them doing it on a Dynamite first.
All right, so let's get into the depth of it here. The rumor mill and the dirt sheets say that Jon Moxley hated the interim championship. Some of them are actually saying he hated the AEW championship, especially the way he just tossed the damn belt with his promo with Punk the week before this week. A lot of stuff. If you want to get into the backstage politics of Punk and Hangman and all that stuff, that's another thing. But let's just say that's it. So they want to do this, and CM Punk doesn't want to lose in Chicago or whatever, or they want a big heel turn. I hated this. I did not like this. And if this is the way they wanted to do this, they should have just done this the week beforehand, because every wrestling company does this. They'll build up a big match and say, sorry, not here in this town. We're doing it next week on Dynamite. They should have done it that week. Do you want to fight? Let's do it right here, right now. Let's unify these titles tonight. That would have made Punk seem not ready. Then the ankle thing could have happened, and then this match would have been more believable. A week later, with all the build, and JR, with his 40 years or whatever of experience, building this up as like the biggest thing he's ever seen, and the packages and everything, this felt like some of the worst booking I've seen all year.
That's a really good point, the JR point that you made, because it is true. I remember hearing that. He said it's like he's been in the business such a long time, and he's really never felt anything like he felt that night, which is just a huge thing to say with the amount of stuff that guy's been involved in. So that to me is pretty wild for him to say that. Then you do it this way, and it's obviously planned, correct? So nobody can think that this was like he actually really got injured in the match, because look at the placement of the match on the card. They still had 2 matches afterwards. So obviously they knew they were going to go down this route. It's just the thought process behind this is, let's do this. Then we have another week of Dynamite to build up to the rematch at All Out. So it's just very, very interesting that they played up this injury angle again. And does, the interesting part of Moxley not liking the title. You saw the way he treated it, like you said. He threw it around. He took that interim one that he had, or the CM Punk one, he just tossed it, and then he carried one around, and he was just treating it like straight trash the rest of the time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed his promo a lot. When he kind of pretty much shit on Punk about being best in the world. It's a really odd situation. A lot of people hated it. A lot of people, were intrigued by it. It did. I guess it did what it wanted to do, was get people talking, because that's what it did. Not saying that it was a good thing or a bad thing, but it got people talking. So I don't know if that was their end goal with this.
It got people talking, and then what got me talking even more was Moxley coming out another time that night, which was unnecessary, when we have like 1.2 women's segments again
Yes.
on Dynamite. The worst women's booking in wrestling today. MLW is almost better at booking women, and they have like 2 on their roster.
Yeah.
And then he comes out again at the end of the night and does this speech. Get your friends to watch Wednesday nights. Don't watch that Monday night, that Friday night crap. Watch Wednesday nights. Get a friend to watch Wednesday nights. Get another friend to watch Wednesday nights. Why are you pyramid scheming people to watch Dynamite if it's so good? And if it's so much better than WWE and you have such a fucking problem with WWE, why is your wife at the Performance Center on Friday? Just saying.
It's true. It is. It's interesting. It just really is. And the fact that they keep, okay, that's another thing we're gonna tangent on is the fact that they keep bringing up WWE in like a backhanded way. It's just a thing that they've been doing for going on 4 years now, and they just need to stop it. The more you reference your competition, the more it seems like you care too much about them and they're too important to you rather than what you're doing yourself. Again, this may all end up good, the CM Punk stuff. It could end up really, really solid in the end, and we may like it, and it may end up pretty good. Nubenco in the chat. Nubenco, good morning, brother. Thank you for joining us. Got Zach here. Is a trooper. He's on the West Coast. So right now it's 8:10 a.m. on the West Coast. You guys been up probably since 5 o'clock in the morning, getting ready for today's extravaganza. That is the Rasslin Report, back again for episode 14. So first topic, CM Punk gets squashed. That's the match. Really quick, play up the injury angle. You know, real quick, I thought that the interim thing was kind of nonsensical in wrestling because it's scripted. But and also on top of that, Punk just won the title, right? So you built this whole thing up to have him beat Adam Hangman Page. You knew he was going to come back soon, so why do the interim if you weren't going to go a different route, which is what they ended up doing? But I think it hurt the whole build up to the interim unification match because it felt like Punk was like a foregone conclusion that he was going to win. And the fact that they went this way, it did what it was supposed to do, surprised us. But I don't know if it surprised us in the best way possible. It surprised us, but also made us very kind of upset about it.
I don't know how to book TK. TK booked the Summer of Punk, vice versa Elseworlds, with MJF being Punk and Punk being Cena. That didn't work out, so this is what we got. And I'm not going to fully critique this storyline until All Out because that is the end game. But the point is, right now, I'm sour grapes Phil about what happened on Dynamite.
Definitely. Now the MJF stuff is interesting, but so it seems like they're going the rematch route at All Out. CM Punk will go up against Jon Moxley for just the regular AEW World Title. And is CM Punk turning heel? Because this is the rumor. CM Punk will be turning heel at that event or the upcoming Dynamite before the event even happens. Does MJF play a part in this? Is MJF coming back as a babyface? If he does come back, is Punk turning heel? Are you excited to see Punk turn heel?
I'm kind of not, just because every one of us has already better booked this heel turn. He could have just been like, no, you know what? I don't know if the ankle's still good enough to wrestle on. Let me try to fight you next week. Let me answer you on Rampage. They're not gonna fucking put Punk on the C show, but like it could have just been this better like build up towards a heel Punk rather than this let's just like I don't know, try to shock and get views kind of thing that they did on Dynamite.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's not going to be on Rampage, right? We all know that. He was only on Rampage when he first debuted. Now, he got mixed reactions, right, on Dynamite when the match happened. So they were cheering Jon Moxley because Jon Moxley is the face of AEW. He has been for a while. He's kind of the soul of AEW. He is what AEW is. He doesn't do Canadian Destroyers. He doesn't do Top Rope, Frankenstein. He doesn't do any of that stuff. But he still is the heart, soul, what they call Undertaker, the conscience of AEW, right? That seems like it's what he is, because he embodies that rebellious kind of alternative that AEW thrives to be. Now, it's interesting. Is like, where do you? It doesn't make much sense to me to turn Punk heel because even though he got that mixed reaction, they were in Ohio, which is where Moxley's from, so you have the hometown going for it. People are still excited and still go crazy when he comes out. So how do you even do that as a heel?
I don't know. It's very weird, and it's very weird if you're going to bring MJF back and you're going to have Punk as a heel. You have Moxley. again, the booking in AEW, everyone is a heel and then they're a face when they're in their hometown, and they're heel again. The Blackpool Combat Club was very heelish, and now Bryan Danielson with the Garcia stuff is face, and now it's very flip-floppy, so it's very tough to predict where all this is going. I don't like a Punk heel turn with the MJF stuff. If MJF wasn't even a factor in this, cool, let's see where it goes, but MJF is a factor in this.
Yeah, and the thing about Punk is that he's good both ways, right? He's good as a heel and a babyface. MJF, I kind of feel like he's just another Flair, which is his babyface runs are going to be lackluster to say the least, and he is just a natural born heel, and he can't really make the transition from back, from one to the other. That's what I think. So if they come back with MJF as a face because of the promo he cut that everybody forgot about because they never referenced it again, if he comes back from that, and it tries to be a babyface, I don't think it's going to play well. And especially with Punk a heel, I don't think the dynamic really works that well. I think in the end, Moxley still is the most popular one out of the three if they go that route with Punk a heel, Moxley a babyface, and MJF a babyface, and they go from there. I don't think it's going to work out that well in their favor.
I don't think so either. And actually, right now, I'm not really the biggest Moxley fan. I'm just not a fan of how he acts, mainly outside of the ring. I do not think substance abuse was his main issue. He has a lot of stuff he needs to figure out.
Yes.
I don't think MJF turning face is a good thing right now. I was kind of maybe excited about it, but especially after the last 2 days, Warner Brothers Discovery basically said, stop saying shit. And here's another list of words we don't want you to say. And we're not going to touch the blood and gut stuff and all the violence, but here are the verbiage we do not want you to say as much. So that puts MJF into a box.
It definitely does. It also puts Moxley into a box. So this is the bigger thing behind all this is that Warner Discovery merger. So we saw the purging of that where they cancel us HBO Max stuff. All this, superhero movies and stuff are in jeopardy. All this affects them as well because it's all part of the same Time Warner group. It's they all own this, so it does affect them in terms of what they can say, what they can do. They're probably not going to touch any of the violent stuff unless they get complaints or they themselves as corporate stooges see it and like, we don't like the way that looks on our television program, take it out. That's the problem when you have a television company running a wrestling company. Same thing we saw in WCW when, they came in and they changed a bunch of stuff up because you had to go through not only the channels of your booker, promoter, and running of the company, but the higher ups at the network you have to go through as well, which hurts them because you hear a lot of the stories from WCW days that causing issues, them having to go through that and go through guys who aren't in the wrestling business but are in the TV business, and that screwed them up a lot, until they caught lightning in a bottle with NWO.
Yeah. And it's very funny that this is the case because after the merger with Warner Brothers and Discovery, it was like maybe a week after or whatever, some of the higher ups went to the Dynamite taping where MJF went off on Tony Khan and they were fine with it. So
yeah, and they're fine with it. So like as long as they see the dollars coming in and the ratings are well, I don't think they should have a problem with it because money in the end is the end all be all when it comes to this. Yeah. But it's just going to be interesting to see if they have any input in terms of who gets televised, who's on television, who gets promoted. Are they okay seeing guys like, Mance Warner there, guys who you don't normally see on wrestling television that don't really look like megastars and TV pretty? Are they going to be okay with that? Are they going to have any say in that? Or does Tony Khan still have all, autonomy when it comes to all this stuff? It's really interesting to find out how that's going to play out because we've seen all the changes happening at Warner, Discovery, HBO, how all that stuff's kind of really changed up.
Yep. And Tony Khan did himself a favor, just really quick. He promoted people like Quiet Time Marshall and some other people to help him out because he does need help. He's got too much on his plate. Yes. And I think kind of a good thing is ROH is on pause because of this merger. So Tony Khan doesn't really have to think about that right now. And that's a good thing.
Well, you and Eric said yesterday on your stream for Dynamite, and make sure you check out West Coast Podcast every Friday night for Rampage. I'm sorry, they do a live stream. It's the only reason you should ever watch Rampage is to watch it along with West Coast Podcast. Trust me on that because I do. That's the only reason I watch Rampage, and the only way I can watch Rampage. But you guys said an interesting thing when it came to that subject there, and it it's going to be interesting how this whole thing plays out. And I'm not really sure if it's going to be a good or a bad thing. Now, what you guys brought up was Dark Elevation. I mean, Dark and Dark Elevation being YouTube channels, YouTube shows, obviously. Do they remove those and have ROH be the kind of, internet show. I think, and we talked about it, you guys talked about it, and I think anything that removes Dark and Dark Elevation is a good thing, and you can replace it with something somebody wants to actually watch. And not only you can maneuver your massive bloated roster a little bit better with that, and you can give some importance to guys like Claudio, like Wheeler Yuta, like FTR, guys like that who you don't really see too much, and when you do, it doesn't seem that important. I think it'll work best. That's what you guys brought up yesterday. I think it's a great change of pace and a great idea for AEW to take advantage of.
Totally have to do it. Dark and Dark Elevation are very bad to watch. I've watched a couple of each. I can't watch it. It's AEW talent will say all the time when they're asked about it, "Oh no, this is the best thing because this is where we get our reps in." I don't want to watch someone work out in the gym.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to watch this, especially because most of these matches are squash matches or very green, and the production doesn't know how to edit botches. So it's very tough to watch both of these shows. If you put ROH, get rid of these two shows, you make ROH a show, build it and make it look like MLW Fusion. That is a good thing. MLW, I don't know what's going on with them right now, but it is a very fun show to watch. 1 hour YouTube free. I can just pop it on wherever I am. Nicely done. And ROH, this is where you can have ROH people shine, and anyone can just go watch it for free, and you don't have the confines of the television restrictions, and this is where you make Slim J a champion.
There you go. Slim J, like the Slim J reference right there. Definitely that's the spot where you make him a champion. He should be the guy beating Claudio, squashing him in a match. So good. But you're right. I mean, you really are right, because it's you don't want to see guys, putting in that kind of like tweaking the work. That stuff that's safe for house shows. That stuff for safe for, you go on the independents on your when you're not on AEW, and you do stuff in a gym somewhere, and you try to work on new things to see if it works with the crowd that's there. That stuff like that, you don't want that to be on YouTube and treat it like it's something important when it really isn't. It's just guys working on things. But I seem like the only reason they'll keep Elevation and Dark around is to still show what Pac is doing with that All Atlantic title, because you got a rare sighting of it on Dynamite.
Rampage, the C show, is pre-taped. You put this on Rampage every time it's defended. You can edit it in. This is a free, fun match. You can edit in. This is where the All Atlantic Championship should be shown. You edit it in. You got a crowd wherever they're wrestling. Yep. That's where you do it. And again, you don't put it on Dark and Dark Elevation, because this is people getting the reps. It's very sloppy. And then you're going to show something that's supposed to be an elevated championship. When I do comedy here in Hollywood, I do not post my open mic sets. I'm just saying.
It makes sense. You don't, because you're working on things. You're working on tweaks. So it doesn't make sense for you to put a title that you had a tournament for with big roster names in there, had a match at Forbidden Door, a big match with, look at the guys who were in that match. Miro, Malachi Black, and Pac. You would think that title would mean something afterwards, but it hasn't. Now, is it just a title to get their name out there around other countries because they assume that nobody knows what AEW is, which doesn't make any sense? Or is it that Pac can't travel to the States that much? So that's the issue behind it. I don't know,
but I can't wait for Dana Brooke to win it.
Definitely, yeah. We could see that happening definitely soon, and then maybe Reggie as well. Noob & Co. Seems like Warner Brother Discovery definitely don't want AEW to be TV mature. Yeah, I definitely they're going to keep it TV 14. I don't think they'll go that far with it. I'll go TV MA. That'd be pretty cool, though. I honestly see a wrestling thing that's TV MA. It'd be pretty interesting. The stuff they'll show on there probably be nuts. Game of Thrones in real life, probably. Noob & Co. also says, I believe it's time to replace AEW Dark and Dark Elevation because there's way too many squash matches. Yeah. You got people working on stuff. That's what it is,
Getting into double digits of matches on some of these shows. No reason for this nonsense.
Yeah. It's kind of like it's what you see when you go to a live event before the show goes on air, but they're actually taping it. That's the difference, right? There. Yeah. You see, it's a bunch of dark matches, and obviously that's why they call it dark, but you shouldn't be showing or showcasing dark matches because they're just there for new talent to get in and other guys to work on stuff and try to get stuff over. Yeah. Nubico says, I haven't seen AEW Dark and Dark Elevation ever since I saw Natalia Markova competed in AEW, and now Natalia Markova is competing in an NWA these days. I mean, you should never probably watch AEW Dark or Dark Elevation.
I'm glad she's on NWA. I just being on Dark is just so, it's got to be very dark for these wrestlers. I don't know if you're going to cover this later. Why the hell did we leave Dynamite with a dark elevation? Again, I don't know which damn show this was on, with the return of Kip Sabian. What the you're going to build a possible MJF return, and then you're going to give us Kip Sabian? Oh, yeah, if you haven't been watching Dark, man, you've been missing the whole storyline. All right.
Yeah, you've been missing him with his box on his head on Dark. It's kind of,
right.
I found out so late that was him. I found out so late after, because I don't watch Dark or Dark Elevation, so I had no idea, and I found out so late that was actually him underneath that box. It was just, not a good look.
No.
Everything seems less important when you put it on smaller shows. That's why main events, Superstars, Velocity were never big things. Heat was, because it took place right before pay-per-view, so you saw a lot of stuff build up there, smartly placed. But this isn't really smartly placed. It's just kind of there for extra content. But don't ever make it seem like it's important. Next topic, the All Out card. What are your thoughts on the matches so far announced? And what do you think we're going to get in the upcoming week before the pay-per-view happens?
Man, this card, I asked last night on the live stream, do you think this is worth the $50 or whatever it is? And I don't think it is. I don't know why we're getting 2 trios matches. Why are you putting a second trios match to go up against your championship trios match? And again, when Jay Lethal now has the Motor City Machine Guns as his partners, which is cool. I know Knock Pop big time for it. He's a big Impact guy, and it is very cool. You're basically telling Sanjay and the other guy, "Oh, sorry, I know I booked you for this match, but I found someone more poppable than you. I know I promised you this. I know I promised everybody this, but sorry, I just found someone more poppable for this match. You're sitting out."
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You have the trios being there already, so why have another trios on top of it? Because it's not for the title. So what's the point? You got Wardlow and FTR on. You're getting them on the card, but not in the way that you should.
2 of your most over talent. 2 of your most over talent who don't need to be hot on the mic. This is so ridiculous. Why isn't the title on here? Why don't you have random people coming in? Why don't you have the Motor City Machine Guns challenge FTR for one of their 9 belts?
Exactly.
This makes absolutely no sense.
So let's look over the card really quickly. I'll go pretty fast. I think we're having connection issues with Zach right now. All right, let me go over the card, right, as we figure out this connection issues. We have the tournament final for those AEW Trio Championships. So that's the first trio match, the most important one, the only one that should be on the card. The next one you have is a 6-man, which are another trios, Wardlow and FTR versus the Motor City Machine Guns and Jay Lethal. So that's the trios match that we're talking about here. They bring in the Motor City Machine Guns to join Jay Lethal and go against Wardlow and FTR. Like you said, 2 of their most over acts, right? Why not have them the Machine Guns go against FTR for the ROH or the AAA ones or the New Japan ones? All the titles that they have, and then why not have a TNT title match? Why don't you have a feud for your secondary title on here when we give WWE so much crap for not showcasing the IC title on a pay-per-view since the Thunderdome days?
Yep.
Doesn't make much sense.
It doesn't. I got to say really quick too, the AAA titles are worthless.
Yes.
AAA is
they're hideous as well.
yeah, they are.
They definitely are. Nubico, the All Out card is kind of underwhelming. I don't know what to think of it. I like the Motor City Machine Guns, but good old Scott D'Amore will not be happy about it. Shout out to Scott D'Amore.
Shout out to you for you keep saying Motor Shitty.
That's a Freudian slip right there. I'm sorry about that. Motor City Machine Gun. Sorry about that. All right. So the other match on the card is for the interim AEW Women's World Championship. Thunder Rosa not able to compete, not able to defend her title because she suffers an injury. We have Toni Storm, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, Jamie Hayter, and Hikaru Shida. So you have the interim title. Is there really anybody in this match other than Britt Baker that has a shot at winning this?
Shida for shock value, or because they have someone else that they want to put it on. I don't know why Ruby Soho isn't in this. This is another person that Tony promised the moon to. There's 2 things to talk about with this. There shouldn't be an interim championship for this because if she has what she has, this is kind of I had to deal with this. What she has, it's so painful. You don't know what how long it's going to be out for. So you take the title off of her.
Yes.
She cannot compete. There's no reason for an interim championship. Don't put this in the back of her mind. And then there's the other thing too. So many sites are saying that this could be based on her being hard to work with backstage. Ivelisse came out yesterday saying, see, I told you guys about Scott D'Amore, and now I told you guys about Thunder Rosa. So whatever. And there's all this other backstage stuff. So whatever it is, just take the title off of her. I do believe this is an injury thing with her for real. But she did go off Twitter and all this other stuff because of all this negative backstage press about working with other women. So I don't know what's going on with this, but this should not be an interim situation. This should just be a title situation. And honestly, why didn't you just do a Battle Royal segment on Rampage to promote the women building up for All Out?
Yeah, so have more women on the roster be in the running to get the interim championship match. Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. So, it's just Ruby Soho is, I think, the most interesting person to be left out of this match because, like you said, Tony Khan promised to the world. She had a big fanfare when she showed up. She immediately got thrown into the Britt Baker feud when she, showed up. So in a big match, immediately showing up. Now it's just like she's kind of just there. Not much from it. It doesn't make a ton of sense as to why she's been left out of this match. I understand Jamie Hayter because she's in a faction with Britt Baker, so it makes sense. I think maybe Sheeta's probably the person who probably shouldn't have been in this match, and it should have been Ruby Soho instead.
Right. I don't know if she's been on Dark Elevation because I don't watch it. I don't know why she's back on. I'm sure she'll feud with Nyla Rose after this for a week. Jamie Hayter, like you said, should be on. She's been the most prominently featured on TV, so she makes sense. And this, I guess, could serve as the breakup with Britt Baker if they want to do it that way. But then, who gets the belt?
I just think Britt Baker by default is the only person you can really put it on. Now, again, I'll go back to what you said about they shouldn't do interim titles. I don't think they should. Yeah, I don't think they should in a scripted show. It doesn't make any sense. I know you're trying to make it feel like a real, legitimate competitive sport, but it is scripted in the end. So just vacate the title. And then if you vacate the championship, I think you create more buzz because you're going to see a new champion without the tag interim in front of it. I think it creates more buzz. It creates more excitement. And I think the person winning the match gets over more because they're the official champion. You're not just, are they holding this belt for when the other person comes back and just beats them for it? Or are you going to go down the route again of doing an injury angle and then a squash?
Exactly. And then the person who you took the belt off of gets first crack at it when they come back. That's it.
Yeah. The title I never lost storyline is the easiest one to book because it writes itself. It makes the most sense and it's just there on a silver platter for you to capitalize on it because, you never lost this belt, so you should get a shot back at it. It's an easy feud. It's easy. It's just books itself. Just throw it out there. Okay, we got two months of a feud that we don't have to worry about. It writes
exactly.
Itself. Yeah. Nubico, not to mention the women's matches. I'm excited for Jade versus Athena, but the interim AEW women's champion is going to be a disaster. Could be. Jamie hated the Blackpool Combat Club because I'm tired of Britt Baker on being the role model more so than Bayley being annoying. What do you think about Jamie Hayter to the BCC?
I'll take it as they do need a woman in that faction. As long as they stop doing goofy shit to make them not seem tough anymore. Like this whole lean back thing.
That
needs to stop. That needs to stop.
They need a female, but they can't go the route that Judgment Day goes by in WWE, where she just kind of Rhea Ripley doesn't really do a ton. She just kind of throws a punch here and there, but she doesn't have a feud for her own. She just beats up on Dominic and other guys like that. And they got to have her, but then have an actual female be feuding with her. She's can't just be a background character because where AEW is probably more likely to do intergender stuff. It's just not something you want to have while you have a faction because I think it hurts her in general and also hurts the faction in the process.
Right. And just give her the rub coming out with Blackpool Combat Club.
Yes. Noob & Co. Ruby Soho should probably go back to WWE, and I hate to say it, go back to Liv Morgan.
Well, Sarah Logan was on a package the other week.
Yeah, she was. Sarah Logan was, according to Jonesy, one of the druids in that Viking Raiders vignette that they did. So she could be coming back. Obviously, she's married to, I believe it's Eric. They have a child together. So if she comes back, it makes most sense for her to come back and be in the same company as her husband. It's like something that we're going to see because now there's rumors that, Tennille Dashwood, Emma, former known as Emma, is a free agent. She's with Madcap Moss, who still is not Riddick Moss yet. they're together, so she could be showing up in WWE or in NXT maybe sometime soon because they like to have that connection. You guys are together, we'll keep you together, it makes you happy. It's kind of one of those things. So we could see that maybe her making a WWE comeback because of that. But let's continue with the All Out card. We have the Casino Ladder match, which is a staple in all AEW pay-per-views, either a battle royal or, a ladder match for a shot at one of the championships or a big brass golden Sonic ring. So we'll see who wins that. Well, let's see. Who do you think right now, just top your head, most likely to win this Casino Battle Royal? Like somebody just that needs it or whatever, or maybe a new person.
I don't know who is new that would come, especially with Triple H being in charge. There's you hear the rumors that a lot of people are second guessing going to AEW now, especially women. A lot of women are saying, "No, I'm good." Who could use it? I honestly, why not do Ethan Page again? And do him right in this time.
Yes. That's a good call because he did show up at a Casino Battle Royal or a Casino Ladder match. So you didn't really do much with him after that. Could be a good choice to win. Now, I'm assuming they win this, they probably get a TNT title shot. I don't think they're going to get the world title shot.
It's got to be the TNT title, and then I'm sure they can get squashed by Wardlow. But you got to look at people like Ethan Page because those are people Triple H is actually looking at.
There you go. It's going to be guys that you want to kind of appease because you don't want them to leave. One of those things. Chris, Wrestling Views in the chat. What up, Chris? How you doing, man? Thank you for joining us, brother. My cousin Eric in the chat. Ruby Soho Riot. You're gonna come back as Ruby Soho Riot. Well, they can't. Well, so what was it? They added the 2 T's to Riot Squad to make it not seem so rioty. Correct? That's what it was. Yeah. Eric, what's up, man? Thank you for joining us. Nubin Co goes on to say, "Is this women's casino ladder match? Is the women's casino ladder? No, I think it's just the males, right?
I thought it was just the males.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just the males. All right. So next match, Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho, the American Dragon versus the Lionhearts.
So many issues with Chris Jericho outside of wrestling, but in wrestling, he and Mox surprised me with that match. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. So this could be good, but the booking, my God, can Jericho share a spotlight? This stuff on Dynamite where Bryan Danielson called himself Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
It's in his head too. This is going to be Daniel Garcia on a pole match. I think this is going to be good wrestling because Jericho has to up his game for this match. He has to keep up with, in my opinion, the best wrestler in the world right now. He does have to, but man, is Daniel Garcia just kind of pushed to the back in one segment.
He definitely is. It was because everybody's like, and it's a funny angle. The whole I'm a wrestler, no, you're a sports entertainer type thing. It's comical, and in a match that should be built as a more serious and big time match, the comedy angle behind it of I'm a sports entertainer, I'm a pro wrestler, I think hurts it. And yeah, I mean, Jericho's just out there kind of doing whatever and just throws anything against the wall and see what sticks. It's his shtick now. He just continues to reinvent himself and change things up, bringing old characters, bringing new characters. He's doing whatever he wants now. So this is what we're getting from it. It's gonna be a good match. He does have to keep up though. He's gonna have to keep up, and I think he will. He's in the best shape we've seen him in years. So yeah. I think he'll be okay with it. But yeah, it's just kind of a match that. I mean, what do you get out of it? Who wins? Or is it if Jericho wins, sports entertainers are better, or if Danielson wins, it's wrestlers are better? It's like you guys do the same thing either way,
Right. Jazz is the worst faction in wrestling history, in my opinion. I think they're I think they're almost surpassing Retribution. So they're almost the worst in wrestling history.
Well, I mean, at least 2.0, formerly known as Everrise, are top guys there now when they weren't in WWE. MJF for sure the Joker.
I think that's too mid of a match for him.
I agree. Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah, Kumar, I agree. I think it's just he needs it. If they didn't just completely ignore the promo, pipe bomb promo, whatever you want to call it, then I don't know, because if they ignored it so much, the Joker could be a spot for him to show up. Because they ignored it. I don't think they played up on it. But I think regardless, the promo that was done, you can't bring him back in a spot like that. It's got to be after the world title match. He shows up, whoever the winner is, and confronts him straight up.
You have to do a semi-NWO kind of angle where he just shuts everything down.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what you got to do with him. Chris Wrestling Views, I'm doing good. Just here enjoying the video you guys have prepared. I appreciate it, man. Thank you for joining us again.
Oh, yeah, Chris.
Next thing, okay, I'm sorry, we haven't even finished the All Out card. I thought we were done. Swerve in Our Glory, the tag team champions have been relegated to mainly Rampage versus the Acclaimed for the tag team titles. I think Swerve in Our Glory hold on to it here.
Yeah, I do too. This is very thrown together. I don't know. I'm not excited for it. This is a dynamite match, and I'll say top of the second hour kind of match.
Yeah, more like a Rampage main event, probably. Just have Mark Henry say this is the main event.
Yeah, there you go.
Next match, Jungle Boy versus Christian Cage. A feud that's been going on for a while now, and it's gotten personal. You know, the promos back and forth. Some of it's been cheap heat from Christian, but I think it's been well put together for the most part. The whole Luchasaurus, I'm down with Christian, just to like not be down with him and turn on him thing. It's just, I don't know. And then, yeah, it's been okay. It's just a match.
Yeah, this has been sloppy booking and sloppy promos. Christian Cage has been giving promos that are like this long with like this much good stuff. And it's just like this long. Just like, I don't know if the turtlenecks are suffocating him, but his promos need to be more on point and cut the fat.
Yeah, well, you know what? He's got the look and the body type for a turtleneck, so I'm not gonna hate on him that much for that. You know, it's like he's got this long body. I think it looks all right on him.
I got you.
But
He's a Knives Out villain.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah. Jungle Boy, I think, easily gets the win here. We have Ricky Starks versus Powerhouse Hobbs. We saw Ricky Starks promo that he cut this week. I thought it was a good promo by him. It's just he needs to show a lot of aggression and be like a kind of Ricky Starks, but on like dialed up like 11 notches. And he has to be, I think he has to really destroy Hobbs, not a squash, but really just throw everything at him kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel this feud next week, AEW has to double book it. It has to be on Dynamite. It has to be on Rampage. This is one of the things that I'm most looking forward to because I love both guys. Ricky Starks he's the total package. I think they really need to get behind him. I think Ricky Starks, like you said, needs to destroy Hobbs in a Ricky Starks way, just like he's almost constantly doing like Street Fighter combos on him.
Okay.
He just needs to go full bore and be pissed off because he stated in his promo he lost a friend, and that needs to come across in the match. But I love both these guys, so I'm excited for this match.
Yeah, so you cut the promo that you cut very emotional. You saw the tears in his eyes, right? Shout out to him for actually getting those tears out there, his eyes welling up. So you really got to go that route because if you went that route with the promo, the match has to equal that emotion and that storyline that you're trying to tell there. So we'll see if they're able to pull it off. And Jade Cargill versus Athena for the TBS title. That's a match. I mean, we're gonna get it. TBS title is kind of just I still can't stand how Jade's logo looks like just like a random Twitch logo. I still can't get over that fact. I can't like it's just AEW. Like, what are you doing? You couldn't come up with something more better, like more stylish. It just looks like a random Twitch logo.
You know what else it looks like? The Jazz logo. I have such a problem with production.
It's the same kind of, yeah.
It is. I have such a problem with production in AEW. It is the same person using fucking Adobe for their background, their Titantron stuff. People have the exact same things, and whoever's doing their music absolutely sucks. Whoever is doing the rapping in the music sucks, and whoever does this is the voice in the start of the song sucks. It's the same voice, and it's awful. My biggest thing in AEW that pisses me off are the production with the music and the logos behind that. So
yes, I completely totally agree with you. I never even put together Jade's logo and JAS like kind of being similar, but you're correct on that. I guess they're both sports entertainers. But you know, it's just they miss a lot of things in production. And I think it's just that inexperience, not that the individuals there are inexperienced. A lot of guys are former WCW guys that used to work backstage in production, but it's just they don't have that same experience with like how Vince had it with like a Dick Ebersol when you got that NBC full television experience so that you can present it as an actual television show more than just like a wrestling show where it's on television type thing. It's not you don't book it that way, but you present it that way because you can't miss a shot. You have to focus on the facials, focus on the emotion, everything like that. And then also you have to make it seem like you have a big production behind you. And if your logos are like random Twitch logos, I think it doesn't translate well on television.
No, they're copy pasting everything because they're complacent, and that's what's going to hurt them. Back to the match, though, I absolutely love Jade Cargill. It's funny because there are very green things about Jade Cargill,
Yep.
but she makes up for them in other aspects. She was great on Rampage. Athena's been around for how long? Athena needs to catch up to Jade on the mic. So that's the part of this feud that needs to build up is on Athena's end. But Athena can go more than Jade in the ring, so it's gonna be very interesting. I'm a huge Jade Cargill fan, so we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I think Jade Cargill is the total package as well, but the in-ring work needs to continue to improve as time goes on. But in terms of her being, she's the total package, and I think they have somebody on their hands that it's a godsend for them, but it's also a problem for them because it's somebody that's so imposing, so physical, so has everything going for her. How do you beat her? And then how do you get this title off of her to get her to the women's championship, the AEW women's title, where she should be sooner? I would say probably by the beginning of 2023.
Right. If you just said to me before Athena got here, who's going to beat Jade Cargill, I would have said, "Oh, Athena when she gets there." Now Athena's here, and I'm like, "Don't put it on Athena. She's not ready." Stokely's not with her apparently anymore, but he is. So I don't know what's going on with that. They need to really streamline and focus more on what they're going to do with Jade.
Yeah, I mean, it's AEW and the way they book their women, and it's just not. They don't really know how to book the women's division, and Stokely's kind of just recruiting dudes now. So I guess he just swapped over. So they don't know what they're doing with their women in general. Chris, I'm still curious about Starks and Hobbs match because Starks has no help whatsoever. Now we got the Factory attacking him. Got me wonder what's next. Right, the Factory is they do have issues with. I mean, yeah, the Factory. You know what? I can't believe Anthony Ogogo. Right? Remember how much he was hyped in that feud with Cody, and then after that, what the hell happened to him?
Nick Camarado is like every week. It's like someone can't figure out their creator wrestler. Oh no, let's put a vest on. No, let's do this. Chris, I'm trying to enjoy my morning coffee and talking to Anthony here, and you bring up the Factory and just you brought me down, Chris. I can't stand the Factory. They're so worthless, especially with Cody gone. Hey, guy who built us up, we're still going to be around as a thing, but they shouldn't be around.
No, yeah, they're just there to like get squashed and lose. Basically, I mean, it's not good. Like you could probably do a lot better with some of these guys. Maybe like I said, Ogogo looked like he was gonna be a star in that Cody feud, and then it just fell off a cliff. He lost the match, and it was just the end of it. Numiko, I hate the production of AEW. Need to have a better production crew. I think they either need more people. Maybe they're understaffed in that aspect, because compared to WWE is like massive corporation, they have so many people on staff, but it's also they just need people that have more experience in big time production television, like maybe guys who've done the NBA Finals, Super Bowl, World Series, guys like that. Maybe those guys know what you need to be focusing on, what you don't need to focus on, where the cameras need to be, and the talent. You need to make sure that when you hit this spot, you need to be facing this direction so we can get the emotion in your face, stuff like that.
I wish Tony Khan had access to, I don't know, let's just say like NFL people that have done this before.
The NFL Films guys, that's what they need. They need the guys from NFL. If you ever watch NFL Films, then you're gonna see emotion, entertainment, great production value. That's what you're gonna get. That's the guys he needs. I mean, they own the Jacksonville Jaguars. You would think they can get hire a couple people.
Exactly.
And especially when they do them at the place next door, the amphitheater or wherever the hell they do it next to the stadium, you can do it. They're right there. The stadium's right there. Right. Yo, guys, just walk on over here and record Dynamite for us. Like, just produce it. Makes no
exactly. Sense. I'll buy you lunch if you do this backstage stuff.
Exactly. Numiko, Athena is definitely not going to beat Jade, just like she didn't beat Asuka in WWE.
Ooh, that's a good point.
It is a good point. Yeah. It's just Jay's like they're eventually getting to a spot where they don't know who, they're not gonna have anybody to beat her.
Their accidental thing that is kind of giving Jay momentum, that is putting them in a corner, is the Goldberg position that they put her in.
Yes. Yeah. That's what that's the spot they put her in. She's just too dominant. And there's no really way around it. All right. So next topic, Trish. Back to Raw. She was on Raw. It was in her hometown of Toronto. Looking only as Trish Stratus can look, she came out. And she's obviously thrown in immediately with Bayley, Bianca, that whole thing. The six woman tag they're gonna have at Clash of the Castle. Do you think, where does this lead? Do you think she's gonna get back in the ring? She did bring it up. She took off her sweater or whatever she had and said that I can be unretired really quick or whatever it was that she said, paraphrasing it. But she said that. Can we see a Bayley versus her? Can we see Trish versus Sasha if Shera comes back, or Trish versus Becky Lynch, something like that?
I think Trish is going to have a series of matches that is going to lead up to her coming right here to Hollywood, California. WrestleMania is going to be her actual final retirement match. So I think she goes through Bailey. Who is the big one that people wanted to see her face? Is it Sasha or
I think
Bailey?
it was Sasha. It was Sasha, I think, yeah.
Then it's Sasha at Mania. I'll call it now.
Yeah, I mean it makes total sense. And the run, so she already took on Charlotte, so I guess you could do her Bailey, her Becky, and maybe at the Rumble, and then her Sasha at WrestleMania type thing. No title involved. It's just the spectacle of itself is what books it. But she's immediately thrown in there, and I think
she looked great, man.
Awesome. Amazing. Chris goes on to say, who in AEW is creating these matches, or do you think they're doing the matches themselves? Kind of they're running the show themselves, the wrestlers.
That's what I asked myself every Rampage. Who is booking Slim J?
Because it's not the right guy booking Slim J, I'll tell you that much. Slim J should be the champion already. Him and Zach Clayton, tag team champs, and also hold both mid-card and world titles.
Unreal.
Bailey versus Trish Stratus at Saudi Arabia, I'm going to call it.
I could see that. That's a good call.
Yes. Yeah, I can see it as well. They just got to be, it's going to be because they have like one or two of the female matches on the Saudi Arabia shows. So yeah, it's going to be the headliner. It makes the most sense because I think that's the next big event before Survivor Series. Or if they do Survivor Series first, then maybe you do that after. But yeah, it makes total sense. But yeah, I want to say her versus Sasha is the end all be all for Trish coming back. Yeah. All right. So the next topic is one that I felt like I was a bit of a letdown by the way with the placement of it, and it's the Gargano return. So Johnny Gargano returns on Monday Night Raw, but I didn't like the way they placed it on the show, where it comes back from a video package, I think it was, and then it's just like, oh, here comes this music. It's Johnny Gargano. I think they should have done it as more of like a face-to-face. Maybe Theory has a match and he comes out after the match. I think that has more of effect because you see a match, you see a finish of a match, and then somebody comes out rather than you come back from commercial, video package, then a return.
So from watching it here, I watch it on cable. So it came back right after a commercial for me.
Okay.
I was fine with it because of how they're booking. They know the third hour is where people kind of like lose it. Triple H doesn't like the third hour. So I'm fine with it because of how they're building the first 2 hours. And then the third hour is just, all right, now we're just going to showcase talent and not big stuff. It did surprise me though, because I was fast forwarding through the commercials and then all of a sudden I didn't get the music right away. And all of a sudden I see Gargano on the screen. I'm like, oh shit. So it was odd placement, but I was very fine with how this went down. I'm glad they did not do it in Cleveland, which is the easy way to do it in the hometown.
Yep.
I love the Toronto pop, and I actually really like the NXT reference now happening under Triple H's watch, and I'm actually a big fan of how this went down.
That's the biggest takeaway for me was the referencing of his accolades and accomplishments in NXT, which is something they've never done really before, unless the guy showed up with the NXT championship like we've seen before happened. The referencing of that, I think, is huge because I brought this up a million times. It didn't make any sense to me, and just in terms of creative and money wise, because you have this other brand. And you had the foundation laid, the bricks were laid for these characters in NXT, and people enjoyed them. They were over there. So why is it that when you had the foundation for those characters set, you decided to throw that out the window when they got to the main roster? You had they were already created, molded, and created for you. All you had to do was take them and just slide them in to where you wanted to put them in the card. So this is a breath of fresh air to actually see and hear those references and brought to the light so people can actually remember all that. Now, when the music played, I was like, who the hell is that? Because I didn't remember the music. And then I saw Gargano. I was like, oh, it's Johnny Gargano. Okay, that's one thing. But the referencing of that, I think it was, for me, the biggest takeaway by far, because it's something we hadn't seen before.
Right. And then it was such a feel-good moment. It was one of two moments that actually made me just like feel really good this week. You don't really get moments like that in wrestling, and just two moments this week, and this was one of them. I do believe that Austin Theory is going to be the name going forward. He's going to get the first name back. This is the perfect feud. This is the perfect way to bring him in. This would not happen under Vince's watch, but this is perfect. Like you said, we have all this stuff already laid down, all the groundwork, and this is. I don't know. I'm just very satisfied with Johnny Gargano being on the main roster.
Yeah, it's a great move, and then you throw him in there with Theory. There's you can even show video packages of the stuff they did in NXT together, so to
Yes.
play up the story. So then you get even NXT shown on Monday Night Raw. Yeah, like you said, it's the perfect way to set it up. You can even maybe even if you wanted to shock people really big is by putting that Money in the Bank contract on the line and maybe giving it to Gargano because
Ooh.
Theory doesn't really feel like he belongs in that spot right now. Maybe get it to Gargano and you shock the world and have Gargano beat somebody eventually. I mean, I think we had probably would have released him, and just a guy that probably never would have worked in the Vince landscape. So I think this is probably the best time to kind of pull this off and try to get that going.
Exactly, and you can even do a Ciampa tag team with DIY again, or you can do that feud. It's you just have all this good stuff sitting there like you do with KO and Sami Zayn.
Exactly. It's there. It's always going to be there. And you can always kind of go back to it. Eric, does it ever feel like Vince made his product super whack on purpose? So when Trips and them took over, whatever they did seem like the right move. So basically, Eric saying, did he sabotage it on purpose so that when the new regime comes in, they look even better than they would have already? Kind of cynical, right?
Can be choking up, Eric. I wish this was the case. Eric, Triple H was not at Vince's 77th birthday. I'll just say that.
There you go. You see that the feud has begun between everybody involved in the family. You know, it's probably too 4D chess for WWE to pull it off, right?
Yeah.
Like it's too like high of like a move to be like, yeah, I'm gonna sabotage this for like 3, 4, or 5 years, and then I'm gonna be out, and then type of thing like that. But that's one hell
Right.
of a conspiracy theory.
Oh,
I like it though.
speaking of chess, Alfred Kanoa, he's on like Wrestling Inc. and he does stuff for Forbes. He posted that it was a chess move putting Johnny Gargano on, not at Cleveland the week before, but in Toronto, but the same week as AEW is going to be in Cleveland because now they don't get that will Johnny Gargano show up in his hometown viewership on Dynamite.
Yes, exactly. Super, super smart. If that was the plan, it's extremely intelligent move on their part because I did notice that as well. Where it was like, oh, they're in Cleveland. They could have brought Gargano here, but they obviously didn't because he showed up on Monday Night Raw. It was a good shot, but would have been even better if he would have showed up on both shows, Rick Rude style.
Oh, that'd been great.
Yeah. Chris, Wrestling Views, they should have had him come out when Ciampa fought Lashley.
I'm more happy with the theory aspect of it because he can still teach theory some stuff. I want the Ciampa stuff to be big time, so I'm glad they're saving that maybe for another year or saving it for WrestleMania.
Yeah, so am I. I think if Theory wasn't there or he was gone, then yeah, you would have to go with Ciampa probably immediately. But since you have Theory there as kind of like a buffer in between, and then
Yes.
Ciampa you could probably hold off a little bit on. But speaking of that match, Lashley, AJ Styles versus The Miz and Ciampa. Dexter Loomis storyline. He showed up on NXT, so we've seen him a few times in the crowd and backstage and stuff like that, randomly running around. Then he actually shows up in NXT, kisses his one true love, Indy Hartwell, leaves, gets arrested. Then he shows up on Monday Night Raw and abducts The Miz. Why he had the SWAT gear on, I don't know. I think he could have wore something different than that SWAT helmet. Kind of dumb to me because he's just kind of sitting there by the barricade with a SWAT helmet on. I think it wasn't really a good look, but I did like how he just took him and carried him away to his weird underground dungeon he has somewhere.
Very interested to see where this goes because again, yes, where did he put the Miz and now he's arrested for it? The SWAT stuff I'm okay with. It's very Han Solo dressing up as a stormtrooper, and it worked because he was in the background with Adam Pearce. There was that SWAT person back there, so it just plays throughout Raw.
Yeah, I like the stuff, but do you think that him showing up on NXT kind of de facto, obviously makes him a baby face? Is that hurt what you think they're gonna do for him with him on Monday Night Raw?
I thought that when I watched NXT, it was very fan service to put him on NXT. I liked not knowing if he was going to be heel or face on Raw. So you got a point there.
That's the perfect way to describe it. Fan service. That's exactly what it was. Stuff we see in movies and times like that, where you want to see that one spot. Like fan service was like them putting John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic in Doctor Strange, right? That's fan service. If you don't get nothing else out of it after that, that all that is fan service, because he's been a guy that people wanted to see play the role. So that's what we got here. We just got him showing up, kind of, kissing her, and then maybe never seeing anything of it again. Maybe, because the next topic we're going to have later on, we'll reference that a little bit. But I do like what they're doing with him so far. Alyssa says, miss Cody Rhodes so much. Feel more the guy than Drew McIntyre. He wrong person for Roman Reigns. He not over Cody Rhodes. So they're saying that Drew is not the guy that wrote. Cody was the guy to take down Roman Reigns in this massively long run that he's been on.
I kind of agree. And last night on SmackDown, we got 2 video packages of Drew McIntyre.
Yes.
A bit overkill. I don't. Drew is either. I agree.
Yeah, we're having some connection issues today. Zach, you there?
I'm there. I do apologize. In my building, it is nothing but streamers and TikTokers. So
no worries. You go ahead. Go back to what you were saying about Cody Rhodes. I think we lost him again. Okay, so Cody Rhodes, yeah, seemingly was the guy. You had all those packages that he brought up for Drew McIntyre. They're playing heavy. Again. Yeah, you're frozen again. Don't worry about it. They brought in. They're still going so heavily into the Scottish heritage with Drew McIntyre. He still comes out with that corny ass sword. If you ain't gonna use it, stop bringing it out. But yeah, I think he's not the guy, especially the way SmackDown ended. Now, that's the last topic we're going to cover today on this show, how SmackDown ended and what it means for the Clash at the Castle match. It got me interesting. I mean, it is. I don't think he's the guy. Cody Rhodes was set up to be that guy and then eventually bridge to Seth Rollins maybe or something like that. But at this point in time, it doesn't seem like Drew's the guy. And Cody seemed like that heir apparent to kind of be the guy to take down Roman Reigns and get us to that next chapter post Roman Reigns and see what you do Roman Reigns after that. So that was the most interesting from it. Eric, perfect example of him sabotage. Just look at what he did with Karrion Kross. So talking about Karrion Kross, him obviously sabotaging Karrion Kross by putting the S&M mask on him. So that was the whole big thing. Eric saying that, did he forcefully sabotage everything? I don't think so, Eric, but it could be. I mean, but Karrion Kross is a perfect example because of that whole setup with the way that went down with the S&M mask and everything like that. So we're going to continue on until Zach fixes his connection right now. Chris, did you see the guy who tried to attack AJ Styles on Raw this past week? Yes, I believe I have the name of the individual right around here. Let's see. I have the name somewhere here. Rajan Husher I have here as attacking AJ Styles on Monday Night Raw. We'll see what comes of that later on. It will be interesting to see what happens with that going forward. And if AJ Styles is a new feud there and where that's going to lead up. So next thing on tab is I'll leave the retro topic for when we get Zach back in here. So we're going to skip that. And we're going to skip over to this one real quick. I know it says number 10, but we're skipping over to it because we just covered Dexter Lumis. It's Legado Fantasma, Indy Hartwell, Solo Sikoa coming to the main roster. Their main roster bound. That's the rumor that they are showing up on the main roster. Indy makes sense because you can still do the stuff with Dexter Lumis. He showed up on NXT like we brought up. And we could see her showing up there and maybe getting back with Dexter Lumis on Monday Night Raw, something like that. Or she could just do her own thing and then keep the Dexter Lumis thing separate. And that was just like Zach said, fan service at that point. Legado Fantasma, it's about time they make their way up. I didn't think they were ever going to make their way up with Vince at the helm. But with Triple H there, obviously, they're NXT guys. So they're going to make their way up. Hopefully they come up as a faction. If it was Vince, he would have separated this faction ASAP. But with Triple H there, I think they come up, faction stays the way it is, and we'll see how their WWE run goes. Maybe more stuff in the parking lot. That's their thing where they abduct people in the parking lot. So they did in the beginning. We'll see if that goes. Solo Sikoa makes sense because obviously He's the brother of the Usos. Does he join the bloodline? Could we see the bloodline get even bigger with Solo Sikoa joining? Maybe Naomi, if Shara comes back, joining as well as being the female character on the team, the faction of the bloodline. So all three acts are coming up to the main roster. It will be interesting to see how Sikoa plays into all this. I think we got Zach back. So Zach, yeah, right now we're covering Legado Fantasma, Indy Hartwell, Solo Sikoa coming to the main roster and where they fit in here. I was saying that Legado Fantasma probably would have never got brought up under the Vince McMahon regime. Probably would have got broken up immediately if they did show up. So I think they're going to come up and stay together. Indy Hartwell coming up. Will she be with Loomis? Did we just get fan service on NXT? Or will she be with Loomis on the main roster or solo? And Sikoa, does he join the bloodline? Is that a thing? Or does he kind of run solo when he makes it up to the main roster?
All right, Solo needs to be with the bloodline. You just need to pull that trigger and give us that fan service. I unfortunately think Indy will be with Dexter. A different show. Am I breaking up again?
A little bit. You're good though. I think he broke up again. Okay. Alyssa, why did turn Steph babyface and Drew heel? Don't think Drew McIntyre that good on the mic, needs Mike Peace babyface not work. No, I think Drew's really good on the mic. I think he is. I think everything he says is believable when he's not going super heavy into the Scottish stuff, like the heritage and all things like that. I think he's very well spoken on the mic, very believable when he's not delving way too much into that stuff. Because they tend to do that where it's just a ton of just Scottish heritage. It's pretty much all he talks about, stories about his family and stuff like that. You don't need to pull all that. I think Drew McIntyre on the mic, the less he says, the more, and the more impactful everything he says will be. So you were saying, Zach, Solo needs to be part of the bloodline. Indy, unfortunately, will probably be with Dexter.
Yeah, Legado. That I love that he just kind of rolled up and picked them up in the truck. I absolutely love that segment. I love that they're going to be together. They work so well, and I'm glad we're getting a very likable faction on the main roster.
Exactly. Yes, that's one of the things you're kind of missing. Very likable factions. More of them, the better. As long as they're impactful and they have some type of meaning to them, not just some random nonsense. Okay, so before you got the connection issues, we're gonna cover retro topic of the week. It's my favorite and best segment of the Rasslin Report each and every week. And the retro topic of the week is the Attitude Era overrated. The easy answer, people say, no, it was awesome. Yes, it was awesome. But a lot of what they did was pretty bad. If you go back and watch it in real time and watch it later on in your life, as you've grown up, as things have changed, as so many different things when you were a kid or whatever age you were when you saw this. If you go back and watch it now, a lot of it isn't that great. It's 50-50 for me. A lot of it's great. A lot of it isn't that great. For me, it's just the names that made everything great.
Agreed. A lot of the Attitude Era stuff was you didn't know what was going to happen. You were going to get the Rick Rude on both shows. You didn't know. I actually didn't like a lot of Attitude Era stuff. I hated post Shawn Michaels DX. I didn't like that at all. They didn't work for me. I like certain parts of that. I like Triple H got the reins, but a lot of that didn't work. The tag teams didn't work at that time for me. There was just a lot of stuff that didn't work, a lot of segments that were just cringy, even watching back then. So I do think the Attitude Era is overrated. The biggest part of the Attitude Era is kind of happening right now in wrestling. What could happen tonight? What could happen next week? What's going to happen on these shows with these people? Could they flip-flop and reference this and that on the other show? It's almost like the Attitude Era relied, whatever wrestling show in the Attitude Era was hot, relied on the other show.
Understood. It's all shock factor at that point, right? So if you look at television as a whole during that time period, the Jerry Springer stuff, I guess Maury Povich kind of fall in that group as well, I think. Maybe. But yeah, it was a lot of just pre-reality television, but shock value television. Howard Stern type stuff. Obviously, Vince Russo was a big Howard Stern guy. That's what you got out of it. Now, a lot of it, you go back and watch the storylines and the stuff they did. A lot of it was just nonsense and it was just ridiculous. And you're kind of like, what the hell is this? But what takes it over the finish line is being like the number one era of professional wrestling is the talent that was there. Even if the stuff was kind of stupid and cringy and kind of stuff, you're like, what the hell was that? The talent, what got most of that stuff over and what allows everybody to remember it in the past as being awesome, as being the greatest thing they've ever seen. The talent left a mark behind that made everything that, even if you go back and watch it now, it was like, that was ridiculous, that was stupid type stuff. If you remember it the way you remember it when you were back then, because a lot of it comes to, you got to remember how you made you feel when you first saw it. And that's what gives you the lasting impression. After you go back and watch certain stuff now, like for example, if I go back and watch the original Transformers show, you watch it now as a grown up, it sucks, right? You can't get through it. It's a lot of shows like that. Ghostbusters, Ninja Turtles, you go back and watch those old cartoons that you grew up on. If you did, you go back and watch them, they suck, but you remember how they made you feel when you first saw them. So that's the big thing. And I think the attitude era can be overrated from time to time, because a lot of people who live through it remember it, how they felt when they first saw it, and the talent that was there, and the way the talent is held in such a high regard later on in life. So I think, yeah, it is overrated to a certain degree, the storylines anyways, because you go back and watch it, a lot of storylines are kind of just like, man, what the hell was that? Random, you got Val Venus you got stuff happening on Monday Night Raw, and you cut to a random BJ that Val Venus is receiving in the backstage by Terry Reynolds. You know what I mean? Like, stuff like that, where you're kind of like, man, that doesn't even really fit what's going on right now, but it's the character of Val Venus, and you remember the character of Val Venus fondly. So it's stuff like that. It is overrated to a certain degree, but to me, it's just the talent is what makes it better than what it actually was.
You're right. The talent, everyone's sold. Ivory from going for her character to being in Right to Censor. Like, oh, okay, this makes sense. I like how she's selling it. Everyone's sold. The Godfather got so old quickly, but he sold it every single time. So it's like you're seeing character depth with shallow storytelling and okay matches. I think what we're getting now with this Triple H regime, and hopefully AEW, I don't know. AEW just needs to get more on how they were in the first couple of years, because right now they're on cruise control. But the Triple H stuff right now in the last few weeks, it's Attitude Era stuff with depth and good wrestling. We closed the show one week with Dolph Ziggler and Theory putting on a great match. Like this is stuff I'm not going to remember from the Attitude Era, are these great matches. So it's Stone Cold's progression. It's what did DX do? How did The Undertaker do this? And then who had shock value? Who did this? Did Val Venus, did The Godfather do this? Did the Headbangers do this? So it's not their match quality that I'm remembering.
Yeah, the match quality wasn't the same, right? It's different, very, very basic kind of structured matches, not anything crazy, but it all had a lot of feeling to it, right? It was all about the emotion involved, the characters involved, and I always liked the way they had the main storyline of the show would always kind of weave throughout the rest of the show. So you would start the show with the main heavy storyline, and that storyline would weave throughout the show with backstage segments and stuff like that. It would go through the show while you had other storylines happening at the same time, and then the crescendo would be the main event and how it would end. That's what I always enjoyed, because you always felt like that was the main storyline, and it never let you forget it. It's always there, slowly, spot here, spot there, spot here, spot there, the ending. So that's what I always enjoyed. And I feel like we're going to get some of that, because obviously he was there during it, Triple H. So, learning by example. So we may get more of that, because that was always my favorite thing.
That is how good like soap operas and multi-character dramas work. And that's why it worked so well back in the Attitude Era, because the main story is what made the rest of the show look better. Yes. And that's a good point. And I think the last example of how that worked is if you watch Glow on Netflix.
There you go. Make sure you check out Glow. They canceled it prematurely, which a lot of people were upset about. But you bring that up, it's television, right? That's the aspect that AEW needs to really master, is the television side of it, because the television side is what gives you the context, the depth, the emotion, everything that you're looking for to make so characters seem even better than they actually are.
Right. Quit acting like I'm going to watch BTE, Dark Elevation,
yes.
Like Dark the Lost Levels and all this other stuff. And like, I'm going to watch all these random ass indie shows every week because I need to know who Mance Warner is. Like, I'm sorry, but it's not going to work that way. And they don't come across good on television that way.
Exactly. And they're making an assumption that you're going to go out and watch all that. And you know what happens when you assume? You make an ass out of you and me. That's always, remember that for the rest of your life. Eric goes on to say, if Vince would have brought those NXT groups now, probably put them in stupid factions, cough, retribution, cough, sabotage. Eric's still going in heavy with the sabotage stuff, man. I don't know.
Oh man, if he's right about that, Eric, I will buy you a ticket to join us at WrestleMania this year.
It'll be depressing if he's right about that, to be honest with you. I'm like, you really put us through that, bro, just to make these guys seem better. Those terrible Monday Night Raws you had to watch. Eric says Attitude Era was overrated. God bless those 10 wrestlers who kept the era afloat. They had a bunch of whack wrestlers as well, like Naked Midi.
Oh my God.
Super underrated.
Oh.
I mean, you had a guy supposedly naked, running around, stuff like that. Yeah, Eric is right? Because, like I said, the wrestlers, that talent is what made those storylines be remembered as better than they actually were.
It is about 10 wrestlers, too. Eric's right. It's about 10 wrestlers who made the Attitude Era what it was.
But
it's always the same.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's always the same, like, 10 people on the DVDs, on, like, the promos and everything. It's the same fucking people. Like, don't act like number 11, 12, and 20, 27 made the Attitude Era well. It's the same fucking 10. Eric is right.
And it's like every time you go back and they show like, oh, the Attitude Era of this, it's always the same people you see. You're right about that. It's always the same cast of characters. But imagine those 10 wrestlers were like as over as the main guys are now or before that. You know what I mean? Like those 10 wrestlers that they had were as like megastar over. That's the big difference right there. You had 10 guys like, that were like
I just want to say too, I have over here in my bin tucked in a closet over here a lot of my junk that's still kind of valuable, like Brock Lesnar's wife in a magazine. But I have these things that you won't see anymore. 4 or 5 of those 10 wrestlers on TV guides.
Yes.
Stuff like that you will not know. They are not. Well, Vince and company did not do this the last like 10 years since Cena. They did not put over superstars. They just kind of phoned in the product so they could just keep making a profit. AEW failed to do this and make superstars in their company because it was very weird when they started out. Cody did that thing where he didn't want to challenge for the belt anymore after he did that loss. The Bucks didn't want to win the tag titles at first to put over new talent. No, you put yourselves over first so then the new talent can beat you and then go over. So they failed to make stars out of themselves because they assumed everyone was watching BTE and everything else like that. So they do not have as big of 10 superstars as the Attitude Era had, which they could have had if they would have done it properly.
Yeah, because you want to build the foundation of those titles feeling as important as possible because they're held by the biggest stars in the company. Thus, whoever beats them becomes a star by default, and then the work begins after that if you keep them at that level. They mostly did it right because they didn't want to have that whole Dusty trope where it's like he's the booker, he's putting himself over, he's the champion. People in the wrestling community hate that stuff, and they always complain about that kind of stuff. Same thing as like Triple H. We hate Triple H because he's married to Stephanie, so he's part of the family. That's why he's always the champion. We hate this guy, but after he makes NXT, everybody loves him again. That type of stuff. You're right. You had to be those guys that were at the top because the company started and was profitable because of you, not because of the lower talent that hadn't gotten to the level they're supposed to get or at the level they're at now. You were supposed to be those guys that were at the beginning, laying the bricks. The builders at the bottom as they were building this building higher and higher and higher, while those other guys who come in, they finish the job later on.
Yep. Yeah. Don't be scared to put yourself over nowadays. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. Don't be afraid. Sometimes you have to be selfish, especially in wrestling. Especially in wrestling. Eric says, I wonder how many times Undertaker saved Mideon's naked ass from losing his job. BSK member Mideon, right? I'm assuming. Okay, Zach, how many people do you think would not have had employed later on in WWE if they weren't best buddies with the Undertaker?
Oh my God, just so many. That Mideon stuff, man. Eric, I'm still on my first cup of coffee here. You're killing me here in the morning. Naked Mideon is like in my head now. I don't know if you guys have this commercial where you are on the East Coast, but there's like a 1877 Cars for Kids commercial with the worst like cringy theme song. They reference it in The Good Place. Now that is in my head. So many people, if they weren't friends with Undertaker or whoever else.
Yeah, it's, in the end, it's like who you know rather than how good you are.
Exactly.
Type of thing. Yeah. Next topic is Bray coming back soon.
I do believe he is. I do believe Triple H understands that Nick Khan and Stephanie are in charge, and he just needs to watch the books. So he will get Bray a payday. Bray has a Hollywood agent now, like Bianca Belair has. He will get a payday no matter where he goes. WWE is the only place for him to go because of production value. So if he wants to be creative, WWE is the place to go, because you can do this production stuff. You're not going to get even the worst Fiend match or segment will look even worse in AEW, and then it'll look even worse in smaller venues. So WWE is the place to go. I think they hold off on Bray until October, and I honestly think that they should not even have the Fiend. I think it should be a totally new gimmick for him.
Yeah, so he needs that outlet, creative outlet, right? So he needs enough people behind him to allow him to be as creative as he wants to be, because that's the type of guy he is, Bray Wyatt. I don't know him personally, but just by the stuff he's done and people have said about him, he seems like an extremely creative dude who needs that outlet, and he has so many ideas in his head that he doesn't even know what to do with. So if you give him kind of not free reign, but a lot of leeway with the stuff that he wants to do, I think WWE is the best spot for him because of that production value, because they can do so many other things that will look solid on television. AEW doesn't have the resources right now anyways, I think, to pull that stuff off. A lot of the stuff that he's going to want to do is very pre-taped, very supernatural, very stuff that you need a lot of production, a lot of time put in, and a lot of people on deck to deal with that kind of stuff and to make it work. And I agree. I don't think he should come back as the Fiend, because we've seen it, and it hurts the character if he, we all know he got released and stuff like that, and he comes back, it's just the same. It hurts, it dilutes the character. But the interesting thing, have you seen Dexter Lumis's gloves that he's been wearing? They're very, very similar to the Fiend's gloves, just without the words on them. Something to think about there.
You posted that last week on the Rasslin Report, and where the glove was on the door doesn't match up with what Dexter Lumis was doing on Raw. So if this is that long-term kind of storytelling on them, kudos to them, because that glove on the door during that backstage segment was very random and could have been anyone.
Yeah. I like the Easter eggs, though. I do like them. I do like the Easter eggs, because it's very, comic book movie type stuff, stuff like that, where you see those Easter eggs in the back and you're just wondering, but as long as they have a payoff, it's not something you just throw out there and then it's kind of like, you remember that time we saw that glove there? What the hell happened to that? That stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. That's the worst stuff ever.
Right. And they did it last night too with Nikki ASH and Doudrop, who will be getting her name back.
Yes, you saw them arguing in the back. I enjoy that stuff. You see people walking, because now I'm looking backstage during the promos and the backstage segments. I'm looking around because you see Adam Pearce and all these things that are on fire or smoking, right? Like, you had the car accident, you had this other thing that was like smoking on Monday, you had something else that was smoking in the back as AJ Styles walked past. They stared at it. What's going to happen with that stuff?
Right. Like, I'm not fast forwarding through that stuff anymore,
Yes.
which kills me early morning when I gotta get up for work, because it's just, again, 3 hours is a lot on Monday Night Raw. But that's so smart. It's so smart. It's so creative, and that's what I want. I don't want my time wasted, and I want to be able to pay attention, and I want depth in what I'm watching.
Yeah, because not only it's interesting, because now you have the point of you're seeing the guy on screen or the woman on screen talking, but you're seeing them in a different light because you're looking at them, but you're also looking at the background. So it becomes three-dimensional in that sense, where you're looking at what's behind them and what is the environment behind them. Do you see anything? But you're also watching the person. So it's a way to keep people more in tune with the promo and the backstage segment, because you're not only are you trying to hear what they're saying in the storyline, but you're trying to see what's behind them, because more people that are more into details and stuff like that are looking back there like, what do I see? Do I see anything cool? Is that the Fiend? What the hell is that hand back there? Is that, just stuff like that you're looking for.
Exactly. Like, is that Slim J in the background writing his next Grammy-winning album? Like, we need to see good stuff like that.
The Forbidden Door has been busted open by Slim J and his awesome album that he's come out with.
Slim J is the guy to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Alyssa says, do you think the Seth Rollins ever go back to being babyface, as heel turn feels forced as hell like Becky Lynch?
If they bring in more talent to go heel, so if they start turning more people heel, then I can see that.
Yeah, because you can only do so much with the amount of people that are in the same kind of space as you. So you have like two heels, you can't really afford to get rid of one because you won't have somebody to replace them or stuff like that. Yeah.
To go off of Alyssa's comment here, and I don't know if this is a segment that you got coming up or not, but so the draft may not be happening until after WrestleMania now, so that's when you can kind of reset everything. And let me know your opinion on this, Anthony. The draft after WrestleMania makes sense because WrestleMania is your season finale.
It does, because it feels more like how other sports are, right? Like there's a beginning and an end to it. You have the Super Bowl, you have the World Series, it ends, and then what the team starts to make moves after that to change up and get better and stuff like that. So it's a really way to kind of just flip everything on its head. So it's awesome that you're treating, obviously WrestleMania has always been the crescendo of the year for for
Yes.
WWE. So then you have now it feels like not really like an off season, but it feels like everything gets a fresh start. And that I think that's important. So maybe we won't get so many WrestleMania backlash type things, like where it's just a repeat of
Oh,
everything.
God.
Hopefully, you do it in that gap between backlash and WrestleMania, where you can flip everything over and change things up by doing it. I think it's an awesome idea, which you should have done from years ago.
Yes, I agree. WrestleMania is your season finale. I know they do season finales and season premieres like television shows, but don't. WrestleMania, you made us your season finale years and years ago. That's how it should be done.
I can't believe you brought that up because I hate when they pull up that it's the season premiere of Monday Night Raw, man. Who the hell even knew well, there was a season finale, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Uh,
'Cause they never reference when the season's over. They always do the reference when the season starts, right? It's never like because you never get like a
right.
big payoff where the season ends.
Exactly. There's no Who Shot JR on Friday night in August and then September 1st or whatever. Yeah, that was
And there's no
silly.
time in between seasons. It just keeps going. So it's a
Yeah.
stupid thing that they always push. Like I hated that so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lumiko, it's time for Asuka to turn heel because her current character doesn't fit in the Triple H era. In WWE, it's the same character, and she's constantly feuding with the four horsewomen left, right, center since 2016.
That is one person who I think is going to turn heel. That is a very good thing they're new because I do feel they need more big heel women because you have too many small heel women like Carmella who are mid card. Asuka will, I think, turn heel before WrestleMania. So I agree with him.
Yeah, we could see that Clash of the Castle. Maybe they lose, and then you have her turning on Bianca and Alexa. Could happen too as well. She turns heel there because they did lose the match, which I'm surprised they went with like just a regular finish in that tournament tag team tournament match with Alexa and Asuka versus Dakota and Io. Surprising, because now how much does the 6-person tag mean after they just beat them in the tag team tournament?
I think so. The tournament ends on Monday, so they're gonna have the championship match on Monday. I do not think Naomi and Sasha come back on Monday. I think that's the payoff is the 6-person match, and they come back at Clash at the Castle. I think Triple H really wants to pay respects to them being in Cardiff and overseas, and I think this is the payoff. They're not going to do this on Raw, which I at first figured that they would, just because of how things are going. I think Triple H is going to save that and give that to the Cardiff crowd.
Yeah, I think just for the pop, right? So you get a massive pop of them coming back type of thing. Yeah, it makes sense because, you're going to finish the tournament on a Monday Night Raw. It doesn't really feel as special. And for you to pull it off on a Monday Night Raw, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you should probably do it like Clash of the Castle. Yeah. But then,
Bayley's back to the win, and that's
so the tag team tournament, also, if you do that, it feels even less important, I think.
I think it'll headline. I think it'll main event Raw. Triple H will make it a big deal. He made women's wrestling a huge deal in NXT. Sure. It was some of the best wrestling, not just women's wrestling. It was some of the best wrestling on TV at that time. He recognizes that. I'll call it Monday Night Raw. Biggest thing on there is going to be the tournament match, and then that'll build up to them, Sasha and Naomi coming back at Clash at the Castle.
There you go. Yep. All right, next topic. WWE staying PG. So we had the rumors, right? The leak that, they're going to TV 14. It hasn't happened. Doesn't seem like it's going to happen. It seems like they're staying PG. Good or bad?
Challenging. I'll say that. On NXT, their sound guy did a really good job at editing the holy shit chant. Everyone, I don't know why some people always get it wrong and they can never fully censor the swear word, but they did it on NXT. So part of me thought that going to TV 14 was so they didn't have to edit that stuff and just be easier to flow. I think it's challenging in a good way. So like improv comedy is challenging in a good way. If you want to see how good you are, see if you can make a crowd pop by not don't swear, or improv will give you parameters. Here's where you are, here's the place you are, here's your situation, do some comedy. If you want to see how good you are on the mic, see if you can get a crowd over without swearing and saying shit. So it's challenging in a good way. I really wish they would just go back to TV 14 because there's there's so many shows that you wouldn't even know they're TV 14 on networks that are TV 14. So it's a simple little thing, but it's weird, but challenging in a good way, I think.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, to me, it's if you're good enough at what you do in terms of booking as a wrestler, as a promo, then the ratings shouldn't affect you as much. You should still be able to put something compelling and solid out there without having to have, oh, I'm pigeonholed by, the fact that I can't say this curse word or I can't say that. It's not really what you say, is how you say it and the emotion. And if you believe it, Drew McIntyre, I always say there's this one promo he cut when he first showed up in WWE, again after his NXT run with Dolph Ziggler. He cut a promo talking about the guys in the back, stuff like that. When I heard it, I was like, it's one of those few times you hear it and you're like, damn, I believe every word that guy just said, and that was a good promo by him. Stuff like that. The Moxley promo he cut on CM Punk after he beat him, that's a promo where everything he said, I believe that he believed it. So it's stuff like that. And obviously he said some words that aren't, TV PG, whatever the case may be, but that's just his character. I'm sure he could do the same in a setting where it's PG, because he's good on the mic. So to me, it's not what you say, how you say it. And I think, yeah, it challenges you to be a little bit more creative and a little bit more attentive to the stuff that you say, how you say it, and how you present yourself, because you can't go to a certain level with it because of the parameters of the rating of the show. So yeah, I think so too. It's challenging in a good way, like you said. And I think if you're good enough, you can make it work. And I think, a lot of guys will. I think Seth Rollins made it work in the new character and the stuff that he's gotten. It's PG. It is what it is. You can do certain things. I do think they have to get a little bit more serious, and I think Triple H will bring that seriousness out of it. I don't think you need to be TV-14 to be serious. And now the thing is, does it affect blood? I think blood adds a lot. I don't think it should be like Jon Moxley where he bleeds every single Wednesday night on a Dynamite match type thing, but it does, like a Riddle Seth Rollins feud where they're just brawling both shows just throughout the whole arena. That needs to end in a match where there's blood involved. There
does, and I think the premium live events need to not follow those same parameters because they can kind of do whatever they want on Peacock. My biggest complaint in promos is when someone calls someone else a bitch. It's the easiest thing to call someone in a promo. I hate it. Every time someone does it, it can be a fire promo and then they end because you're a bitch. Like, you just killed the whole promo for me. So coming up with new words, new things to call people. When Daniel Bryan in WWE started calling the fans fickle, I was like, damn, we are fickle. That's good. Like, you come up with more creative words and phrases and stuff to do your promos. So I'm hoping talent sees that as an opportunity rather than a handcuff.
Yeah, no, correct. The word bitch is one of those things you can get away with on TV PG, I guess, but it's just not. Yeah, it's not something that you want to bookend something with. You don't want to end the promo with that because it doesn't really. Yeah, it's not something that you really want. It's like a way for you to seem cool and tough, but not really, because there's other words that you would probably use in that situation that you can't. So just find a way to work around it. I think. Work better. It's interesting. Eric says AEW needs to put pay-per-view on a streaming service. Kind of sucks the way it is now. Okay. Before you give your opinion on Zach, I wanted to tell you a quick story. So the last pit, not Forbidden Door, the one before that, which was Revolution. I saw that one. It was on BR Live. So I have the TV I have is an LG, so they don't have BR app on the TV, and I don't have a Roku or anything plugged into it. So I started to stream it from my phone to the TV. It didn't want to work, and it wouldn't let me purchase it. So then I created a completely different BR account to try to purchase it there. And it worked. They ended up charging me twice. And then I complained to Bleacher Report, complain. They kept saying, look, refresh your library. It'll be there. I was like, I saw it already. Why would I want to watch it again? Just refund me one of them. They never did it. So yeah, they need a streaming service because I paid twice for a half good pay-per-view called AEW Revolution.
I went through the exact same thing probably about 2 pay-per-views ago from the one you did. I fucking cannot stand how they do their pay-per-views. Yep. I will never give them money for a pay-per-view ever because of how they do it. The exact same problem happened. The exact same customer service I got. Unreal. I paid $100 and was like, and I also had to watch it in parts because it was a 4-hour long pay-per-view. Unbelievable. Eric, streaming service. I don't care what streaming service you put it on. I cannot deal with how they put on pay-per-views. I hate it. Hate it.
It could be put on the most random streaming service that's not even available on a ton of stuff. I'll still be happier than having to do it on BR Live because that fight when they do it on Fight, I'm okay with because it's a little bit easier, it's more accessible. But BR Live is a terrible app. Terrible.
It's so awful. Oh, and it crashes while I watch it too. So I'm just like,
Yes.
now I got to refresh. Now I got to use their crappy fast forward function because it started me all the way over. Oh my God, BR Live is the fucking worst.
It's worse. I'm glad to hear that you paid $100 for pay-per-view too.
Yeah,
I know. I do think I'm not the only guy that did it.
yeah. Groceries got put on hold that week because BR Live sucked.
Exactly. Word of advice: don't watch pay-per-view on BR Live. Thanks. There we
There-
go. There you go. I appreciate it, brother.
Marty, we need to go back in time and save $50.
Yeah. Alyssa says, do you think Cody deserves a main event WrestleMania match? I think he deserves it this year.
I think so.
There's time. If there's time to book it.
Yeah, I really think they're gonna do Rock and Roman just because Rock even put it on Young Rock this season. I do believe they're gonna do that in Hollywood, and I honestly think this should be Rock's retirement match, and it should not be for a title. That being said, if this doesn't happen, I do believe Cody versus Roman if he has one title, take that title or both titles off Roman, and that would be the end of his big streak and give that big moment to Cody.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think, yeah, it seems like it's just set in stone that it's going to be Rock Reigns at WrestleMania. Is enough time, I think, from when Black Adam bombs in the box office to when that match is going to happen that you get the stink off of Black Adam. Because from what I hear, the reviews or people watch the early cuts of Black Adam, it wasn't that great. I think it got the same audience score as Batgirl, and that was canceled. So
it did.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. Obviously, you can't cancel a movie with The Rock in it, but yeah, no, I think he does definitely deserve it. I think it could happen as early as this year if there's time enough to book it. If not, next year's WrestleMania in Philly, I think it is.
Yeah.
Next, final segment. SmackDown ending makes it impossible for Drew McIntyre to win at Clash of the Castle. I'm gonna show you the picture. This is the picture. This is how it ended. They stood above this man and even Sami Zayn, the honorary Usos, is there standing above Drew McIntyre. Think about that. As Roman sits on a chair on top of him with both titles. This is the most alpha. This is the most big dog. This is the most, I can't even find the word for it. This is the most badass, probably top dog shit you can do to your opponent just a week and change away from your title match. Zach, what do you think about this, man? Do you think this is going to hurt that match? Do you think it's just par for the course right now with Roman Reigns? And do you think Drew even ever had a chance to win?
My Usos in a crop top. When this ended, I actually thought, oh man, Drew is going to easily beat Roman Reigns. It's going to be a 12-minute match and Drew's going to take the championship away at Clash of the Castle. Then I was like, oh shit, wait, that's next weekend. Okay. The two packages, Drew having a match and then this happening, I thought Drew was poised to win, but with another SmackDown to go, I think that's where you have Drew go over next week and then Solo kind of debut and enrich the bloodline, and then Drew loses. This is so hard to tell. Drew almost seems like he has to win because of where the pay-per-view is located. But then are you just doing fan service again because of where the pay-per-view is located? This is so tough because this pay-per-view, Clash of the Castle, is the last bit of Vince booking that needs to be kind of flushed away. This is the last main thing that Vince had planned. So it's very tough for me to say. I guess I'm more interested to hear what people in the chats have to say because I'm 50-50 on this.
Yeah, I'm 100%. I think Reigns it's the only way that you can recover for something like this, because remember, perception is the way it's how you perceive things, and it's the truth in the end, right? The way you see it is your truth. That's what you believe. And I think nobody can look at this photo that I just put up. I'll put it up again. Nobody can look at this photo, right? A week and change out from this big match and perceive this as Drew has a shot, right? When you have Sami Zayn back there standing around, next to a guy in a crop top above this man, it does not a good look unless somehow this upcoming SmackDown or both Raw and SmackDown, Drew is able to completely obliterate Roman Reigns some way or other. Does he have Solo join him and go against his brothers and his cousin? Maybe a little bit of interest there, right? Could you have something like that come out of it? That would be pretty cool. Maybe something like that. but I think he has to destroy Roman 2 times in 1 week just to even fathom him having a chance at Clash of the Castle. Now, is it fan service if he wins? He definitely is, and I think that hurts the run immediately. I think it hurts the title run if he does win it, just because it's fan service, location, everything like that. Unless there's a weird smozzy way around it, I don't think he stands a chance. Unless, like I said, unless Solo helps him out maybe, or he just destroys Roman 2 weeks. He can't do it just SmackDown. He can't do it just Raw. He has to do it both times. Maybe once in the middle on YouTube.
Yeah, right. Do it on main event. Do it on WWE Dark.
Yeah.
You gotta really like. I'm not showing my face at the grocery store after that photo. I'm just saying that.
They should have Drew attack him in the bathroom of a Waffle House and put it on the YouTube channel. Be like, look, he got him again. He won't leave him alone. Like, he won't, something like that.
Exactly. Honestly, the only I don't want Drew to win because I want Roman to just it doesn't feel big enough to me.
Nope.
I think the end of Clash at the Castle, we talked about Solo coming out and joining. We talked about Sasha and Naomi appearing. Also have Naomi be a part of the bloodline. Just build the bloodline, be the ultimate bloodline. Start going forward. That's your storytelling. You can do the blow part of the bloodline or whatever to lead to the Rock at WrestleMania. But I mean, I think that's the only way around it. And you're going to give Cardiff like a little something. As much as you can is by putting new members in the bloodline. That's the only takeaway of not giving Drew the belt.
Yeah, and then Jonesy always brings this up. He says they have to find a way to neutralize the Usos out of this match for Drew to legitimately win. And if they find a way to do that with Solo or something like that, maybe, or somebody else, Slim J and Zach Clayton. Zim J and Zach Clayton taking out the bloodline, taking out the Usos and the honorary Sami Zayn. That'd be that's anywhere the best booking you could probably do. But it's just, yeah, it's a weird spot they're in. It doesn't feel big enough. Now, this is different. To anybody that's from the UK, this feels huge to them because they haven't seen an event like this over there in a long time. But the problem is, it only feels huge to them because they're from there and they haven't gotten the same. We're spoiled over here because we see them all the time. They come over here to the big shows. We're spoiled. The problem is, it needs to feel big for both them and us. And us meaning everybody not in the UK, right? So it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel as big. It feels bigger for them because they're from there. They haven't gotten a big show in a while. We see that stuff all the time, so we're numb to it. It needs to feel big for both of us for it to feel like it's worthy for this massive title run for the biggest star in professional wrestling for the past 2 years to drop that belt.
Do you think it's they're billing it as the main event, so it's going to go on the main event? Do you think it's better to put it on right away first?
If you're going to have Drew win, no. If you're going to have Drew lose, yes, because the fans may shit all over it. Depending on how the finish depending on how the finish is. If you're gonna have Drew win, you leave it last. I think if Roman wins, you put it first because you want them to shit on it, to shit and forget. I would say probably the best thing to say. You shit on it in the beginning, by mid-show you forget about it, kind of thing. Because you've been popped like 7 other times, but different other things and stuff like that, and that's where you get your kind of your fix from.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I think it's the only way that it makes sense. Eric goes on to say here, I think if WWE ever went back to old pay-per-view style, I stopped watching pay-per-views. Eric used to have an illegal box back in the day. We used to go watch all the pay-per-views, Attitude Era pay-per-views at Eric's house because he had the illegal box.
I had a friend with that too in college. It was beautiful.
Yeah. One of the God's greatest creations was the illegal pay-per-view box. We see a lot of stuff there, ECW, WCW, and WWF pay-per-views. Great stuff back in the day. But yeah, I just just to wrap that up, I don't think he has a shot. I think he has to do something major this upcoming week for it to even be relatively possible for him to win that match. But quickly, let's end on this. Triple H, Stephanie, Nick Khan. Where do you see them taking it to? Like, do you think they'll get to a spot where they're the must-watch show on television, that they just blow AEW out of the water? Do they try to emulate AEW? Do they just do a carbon copy of NXT? Is that what the main roster becomes? Where do you think this goes? What's the end game? What's the finality of the finality? Where does this eventually lead us to in terms of AEW, WWE, and the quality of either one?
I think this is something that will balance out, especially with Stephanie and Nick as co-CEOs, which I still think is a bad idea. You shouldn't have 2 CEOs, but I think Nick and Stephanie are different versions of like Vince and Triple H. So I think it'll balance itself out where you're going to have this global worldwide thing. You're going to have all the Walmart toys and all this stuff for revenue, but you're going to see respect with the talent. You've seen it with Dolph Ziggler. You've even seen it with Dana Brooke. You're going to see this respect, and even like people having good things happen with their career. I do believe Kofi might even get another title run, or I think Big E will for sure. You're going to see that kind of play out more. You're going to see a little bit of NXT stuff. I do not think you're going to see the more independent kind of stuff you see in AEW and WWE. I think Triple H is he's going to know that he's in more of a corporate setting.
Yep.
So I do believe you're going to see more Attitude Era type excitement, more nowadays storytelling, and better match quality, all while still appealing to a global company. Where this leaves AEW, depends how much coke Tony Khan is doing at the time, but I do believe if they get their shit together, this is going to be better for them as well. Because right now I think Tony is reacting rather than booking, and I think it's hurting them, and I think it's going to make Tony Khan see, all right, I do need to not have so much talent. I do need to focus on people. I think it's good that ROH isn't going to get a streaming deal or anything with Time Warner and Discovery, or excuse me, Warner Brothers and Discovery, so he can focus on AEW, and then maybe we get a YouTube show for ROH. But my optimistic side thinks everything is going to be better in the years to come because of this. I do believe Vince McMahon's laziness was hurting wrestling. It made AEW complacent and cocky when it definitely shouldn't have been either one of those. And I do think it's going to make other brands that are restructuring, like MLW or WoW, which Knock is working all weekend. He's working WoW tapings because that's going to be on syndication now starting next month. So it's going to make them want to be better, more streamlined, because all these other companies were loving how AEW was feeling so independent. You can't do that. You cannot do that if you're putting on a television show or a broadcast or even a YouTube show. You need to be more compact. You need to do better storytelling. And you need to understand segment timing and promos. So the optimistic side of me says everything will be better because of Vince stepping down.
I do like the point you made about, it's a different version of Vince and Triple H, right? So Stephanie's a different version of Vince. You still have Nick Khan in there, so you have two people doing one job, right? Co-CEOs. Is Nick Khan, because remember, Nick Khan's behind a lot of those releases, right? So he's not an evaluator of wrestling talent. So we could see some stuff that we still don't like. But I do think that we will see more seriousness, more compelling storytelling. Now, do you think he's in a corporate setting? Do you think the individuals that we saw on top in NXT, will they continue to be on top here, and will they be pushed as megastars? Remember, because they don't have the same look. Or will we still see some of those guys who are body guys, who are Lesnar's? Will they come back to the Lesnar train over and over again? They have the one guy in Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley, that guy as well, and Drew McIntyre.
Mm-hmm.
They look like megastars. They have the physiques, they have the size, the stature. Do you think there's still going to be an emphasis on those guys, or will it be more guys that look like the guys who were on top in NXT as being the main eventers for the most part, and a lot of those bigger guys, body guys who aren't those big three, going to the wayside?
I think it's going to be a nice balance, because keep in mind, Triple H did do all this stuff in NXT with these indies guys, but keep in mind, Triple H was also a big body guy. He was a big bodybuilder. He did all this stuff. He emulated Arnold Schwarzenegger, all this stuff. It's going to be a nice balance. He is doing Bobby Lashley justice. He's giving all this time to Drew McIntyre. But then again, he is making sure Johnny Gargano got a great reaction by keeping him hidden and not, bringing him out in Cleveland, doing that stuff. He is booking Tommaso Ciampa correctly. So it's a nice balance, I think.
Yeah, it's a good time. That's not. We'll try not to get super over the top excited and give our hopes up too much, because it is WWE.
Correct.
They've made a lot of mistakes, but we'll see. We'll continue to see the debuts, the returns, all that stuff. It should be tons of excitement heading into next week's massive weekend, right?
Ooh.
Where you have Clash of the Castle, you have Worlds Collide for NXT and NXT UK, and then you have All Out on Sunday nights. So
are you watching all those? Any of those? One of those? Two of those?
Worlds Collide, I may not watch it live, but the other two I will. We are gonna do Rasslin Report next week directly after Clash of the Castle. Jonesy's gonna be attending the event, and he will be with me streaming it afterwards in his hotel room. So we'll get a nice live reaction from Jonesy, who will be there live in the crowd. Should be a fun, interesting stream to get his reaction and what he saw live there in the stands and in living color. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you check out my last video, Triple H Save WWE. Check that one out. Make sure you check out West Coast Popcast and all they're doing. Their Rampage streams. It's the only reason you got to watch Rampage, really, honestly. And it's the only way you can watch it, because if you're going to watch Rampage, normally just watch them in the background as well. Mute Rampage and hear them, because other than that, Zach Clayton ain't going to save the show. So appreciate Zach for waking up 8 o'clock in the morning Pacific time to join me here. Really appreciated helping a brother out. Zach, thank you again. Make sure you check out West Coast Podcast. Their link is in the description below. Zach, any last words?
Thanks for having me. I love the content you put out, and I just love the East Coast, West Coast kind of banter that we can have.
There you go. And shout out to Knock, man. He's always Mr. TNA. And Eric as well, the Infinity Champion, aka the Paper Champion. You guys are awesome, man. Love you guys. You guys are great, put out great content, and always fun to have you guys on the channel, be on your guys' channel. It's always a great time. Thanks again. We'll catch you guys next week live on the Rasslin Report, right after Clash of at the Castle. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.